Yes, Morgains says hell no to the poll. Mega Mouse says no. Central Animal Lover says yes to the poll. And Paul, you're doing great. Tired already. And Miss Ingrid says, we hope this will give everyone a new appreciation for Stephen and his hard work. Yes, I do have a new appreciation for Stephen and his hard work. Yes, I do. We big up Steve this morning. All right. Before we give the results to this poll, let's give the results to yesterday's poll. All right? Is that what we do, not so?
Yep, that's what we do, Paul.
Poll yesterday was: are you surprised that the case against Anand Logan Senior Counsel and Gerald Ramdeen has been discontinued? We had 35 persons on that. 83% said no, and 17% said yes, they are surprised. So now the results of this poll.
All right, we had 21 people weighing in on our poll this morning, and we had 13 people saying yes, that it amounts to misbehavior in public office, and 8 said no, it does not. They don't agree that's what it amounts to. Of course, Faris Al-Rawi, Minister Faris Al-Rawi, former AG, is having a press conference today at 11 o'clock. But he basically signaled in a release that what he's going to be talking about. He is dealing with the attack of the opposition leader, I guess, on himself and on the current AG. Which the opposition leader will do those things because, I mean, Ramdeen and Ram Logan were part of her cabinet. Well, not Ram Logan. Ramdeen wasn't, but they were part of that government. So she will come out and defend them. Nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? What we need to know is what went wrong and why Vincent Nelson was able to allegedly, let me think, dupe everybody. If we have to go based on the story, the original story, he duped Ram Logan and them. And if we have to go on the current story, he duped Faris Al-Rawi.
You know what, Wendell? Why are we surprised? I said from the start, this man has character flaws. I kept saying so. And I'm using the phrase character flaws so we don't get into trouble. Because apparently you understand the laws very well.
Yeah.
Okay? If you admit, and we could open the phone lines so people could chime in because I ain't gonna guess it. People can chime in on what they think about this and how you think this will and should proceed. If you can admit to a state witness and admit to complicity in what amounts to serious misconduct, and I'm using really guarded terms here, right? And seek an indemnity deed for crimes against the state. I think that's safe when he admit basically some crimes against the state. What makes anyone feel that this person is somebody whose word can be trusted? He's seeking a self-preservation for him at any cost. He is going to do and say whatever it is in his best interest. It has little to do with truth and accuracy and more to do with I need to save myself. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. And it's almost like if and this is my opinion, it's almost like if the King's Council playing on people's need to go after people. So there was a need by the former AG under the People's Partnership to go after certain people, to go after Malcolm Jones and to go after. So he fed on that need, and now it looks now like he fed on the need now to go after our former Attorney General by the People's PNM government when they came into power. It's like he feeding on the need to go after people, and he gets through.
I agree with that. I think that can only happen if the opportunities present themselves in a particular way. And if people follow proper procedure and have integrity in the system, I do think if that is his intention, and it could very well be, that he could exploit the system so readily. I think it has to do with with people, the persons in authority needing to do what they need to do.
Yeah. I'm getting a message, Paul, Richard, from someone that they're not hearing us. I don't know if we are, you had to check to see the on thing on, because we might be broadcasting to one another, but not to the wider public.
No. I don't know what to say again. I ain't pressed nothing. She ain't had to come and check this, because, you know, I'm a novice here.
The person said they're listening, but they're not hearing. They're not hearing anything. I don't know if that's that. If you're hearing us, and you have access to our phones, you could send a message to at least let us know that you're hearing. All right. Adande is also saying he's not hearing anything. So something is that. One other person said we are off here. So I think something is what got thing on. Something is disconnected. Right? They're not hearing us. People are not hearing us. They say they're getting dead air.
We are more egg at our face than the government.
But
oh God. He went to call Shane.
I don't know.
Well, did they even hear the news?
But I think they did. They would have told me back then that they weren't hearing. But I'm only now getting these messages from the people who were listening to us all the time, saying that they're not hearing.
Okay, my bad. Shane can't press the right button. My bad.
Are we back on?
Yeah. We're back on now. Apologies.
Yeah.
Oh, this is too much.
The person said they were getting us on YouTube, though.
All this? Yeah. God, Shane, this is too much work. Where is this one now?
Nice. Across.
We don't need that. Right. Okay. Right. We're back. Apologies. Label the things and what kind of broadcast is it? Label the things.
Label.
But Steve Feeney will be here forever. Label the things. Somebody come in, they could just sit down, order. Again, corruption of the system. Again, what's happening here? If you all follow proper procedure and don't insert yourselves personally and have a system in place, this wouldn't happen.
Right.
So are you making excuses for yourself?
Yeah. Could you start off by apologizing to the people who sent me a whole house of messages? Go ahead.
I apologize, but I'm not leaving the board properly.
Anyway, folks, you are hearing us again. Thanks for that. Thanks for all those messages, because knowing Richard and Paul, we'd have been talking and not be aware.
I'm sure they hear the news.
But you know, I get both for reading messages from my phone, but it's a good thing I'm getting them.
People said that they were hearing us on YouTube. We're getting a lot of messages that they were hearing us on YouTube. So, but we're back on.
We were here.
We were
broadcasting on YouTube still.
We appreciate your tolerance of the incompetence in the system presently. I have been here for a while, so I'm now becoming reacquainted with the system.
Yeah.
That you would not have heard unless you were on YouTube.
Well, I think you should take off your mic and do strictly through the studio.
No, I can't do that because I don't have headphones. Because Steve locked it with headphones.
Right.
And if I hit the studio mic, you're going to get a double sound that you got earlier on. I tried earlier, so we have to work with this. So,
all right. So we can open the lines and take a few calls from people who may have an opinion.
I can do that much.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to the 8255, and of course North Americans 866-525-1099. We were saying something when we were going off the air, and I think it was the issue of Vincent Nelson, King's Counsel.
Yes, I'm saying that I don't know why anyone, given Vincent Nelson's track record and history, would think he's going to be a reliable and or credible witness. I just never thought so, and I kept saying so over and over. Even when the charges were brought against Messrs. Ram Logan and Ramdean, and it was disclosed that Mr. Nelson was the main witness for the state and had received and had negotiated some sort of deal to turn state witness. I said, one, he's not credible because he's doing it for self-preservation. And two, given his track record, anything can happen. We have a call. Good morning.
Hello?
Hi, good morning.
Go ahead, caller.
Good morning, gentlemen. Everything happened in life for a reason. Steve wasn't there, so you all know that he's supposed to train you all how to operate these things when he's not there. Concerning Mr. Alwari, if he gotta go, a lot others supposed to go too. He alone shouldn't go.
All right.
Thank you. This happens so that Steve could not supposed to get sick. That's all that is said. That Steve not supposed to get sick. He didn't allow that. That's not in his contract. He had no sick days in Steve's contract. So
I had a boss man like that, right? He was kind of almost Mr. Perfect. You see his handwriting and thing, and he used to never want to make mistakes. And a day I spot a mistake in what he had given me to do. And I went inside his office and I said, Mr. Board, his name was Mr. Board. I said, did you have a mistake here? The man watch about me here, but that's what you're there for.
I like here already.
He said, sorry, you know, nothing. He said, but that's what you're there for.
Richard, as an attorney on this system, how does all this imbroglio make you feel?
That at core, so many things are rotten. That's how I feel. That if it is, and it seems to be the narrative, and I'm going back to the Malcolm Jones issue. The Malcolm Jones case, whether you were a supporter of the PNL, had certain issues with regard to millions of dollars spent on a particular project that didn't come. It was gas to liquid, or I can't remember the exact.
The GTL plan.
The GTL plan, and the millions and millions, if not billions of dollars spent. And a case was filed. And Vincent Nelson gave an opinion that says, yes, this is valid. And the then government, which was the People's Partnership, is pursuing this case for the protection of the public purse, which is the broader picture. Governments change. And Malcolm Jones being affiliated with that then administration, the Rowley administration, the People's National Movement, all of a sudden, your opinion now changes and says, well, the case is no longer valid. I'm simplifying it. And the public purse and the protection of the public purse is just left up in the air. And it becomes a situation now then of how do you value, and this is really part of the long-lasting repercussions to all of this. How do you value the integrity and professionalism of people who give legal opinions on behalf of the state? Because it cannot simply be who pays the pipe, who pays the attorney gets them to sing the Pied Piper's tune. The professionalism of attorneys has to be that you give an honest assessment on the basis of the law, whether you think this is viable or not. Your intent should never be to pacify or give the opinion that the paying party wants to hear.
But Richard,
and this puts, and this to me puts a huge level of uncertainty now in and they love to go to senior councils and king councils to get opinions, that you are now, in a sense, sullying the broad integrity of the professionalism of the legal fraternity in terms of being able to give those opinions and be treated as credible.
But Richard, in law, we have had history, we have had incidents where people who, as an attorney, take one position, and when they got into office, took another. Ramesh Lawrence Maharaj was against the death penalty when he was an attorney. Not so?
Yes.
And when he became Attorney General, he hung 9 men. Right?
Yes.
Anand Ram Logan
that goes to your personal sense of belief and values.
Right.
That's and it connects with your professional disposition, but ultimately it goes to your personal sense of values and what do you as a human stand for.
Right.
But you know, the present Attorney General said when he became Attorney General, because the similar questions were asked about sentiments he had on other issues, and he said, while I was in private practice, I had a particular perspective because I'm a private practitioner or citizen. I am now Attorney General, so I have to consider different and wider ramifications of those issues. And that was his rationale for the same issue.
Yes, so I was going to get to him because in between there was Anand Ram Logan, who also, as Attorney General, brought certain laws, the gang legislation and so on. And then when he ceased being Attorney General, he is defending it. You understand? So, and as Paul just gave an example of Mr. Amor too. You understand? So people, they just see it as a work. They don't, you see, like Richard, how you would have pointed out certain belief system and certain things that you subscribe to over the years, and you've been consistent regardless of who say what or who in power, especially with your stance on the death penalty. That's not happening with a lot of people.
Because
it's not happening with a lot of people in the legal
because the
fraternity.
Attorney General is a political appointee. It's a politically appointed position. It's a mix of whatever your personal values are, but also towing a line as set by the cabinet or by the Prime Minister in terms of doing your duties. Because even though because it's a political position, so the lens is different. And I'm saying, but your values must stand for something.
Yep.
We have a call. Good morning. Thanks for holding.
And if they're to be compromised, then don't take the job.
Morning.
Go on. Sorry, caller. Go on.
Yeah, morning. Well, okay, we'll talk from a Bush lawyer point of view, and Richard, you could, I don't know, chime in or something. But I think prosecutions and how we prosecute law, we have to deal with most of the times guilty people and people of guilt, and then I think as the prosecution is what they say, how you put it into context to the law that you are prosecuting. So I guess to me, like, okay, I am dealing with somebody who steal my cheese, but how you tell the story to me about how you tell this, how I went about stealing the cheese, then I know that, yeah, this person has some credibility about how they told you that they went about, but then they tell you that I went through the roof, and it's a far-fangled story, and it is irrelevant, and it sounds like made up because you just want to be, and I think, to me, that is the process. But I know that a lot of cases in Trinidad have fallen apart because they have been dealing the kidnapping case with the thing when it made a deal with those the witnesses, and then the witnesses fell apart, and the case was thrown out.
Well, you see, Dean, prosecutors are not persecutors. Prosecutors are officers of the court. And just like all attorneys who appear before the court, we all have a certain level of being an officer of the court. We are all officers of the court. And a prosecutor has to also balance, am I being fair in the pursuance of a particular criminal brief? Because if it is being unfair, the prosecutor has the right, and it's a moral right too, to say, no, I cannot pursue this prosecution because I think it is no longer fair.
Yeah.
It doesn't even have to be the defense attorney. It doesn't even have to be the defense attorney. A prosecutor can say, I'm withdrawing this case because I think the evidence, for example, does not meet the standard of beyond reasonable doubt.
Because I take
That's why
Paul Richards' point of view, where he said the person has a history, but you said yesterday the person could have a dubious character, but the story that they tell you could say to you that this is credible. So after years of before you even started, then is this person character? Yes, it's a dubious person, but the story that they tell.
Well, it's a character issues are something that can be brought up by the defense, because which often happens when you have witnesses for the prosecution, when you have people in witness protection, etc., who are really spilling the beans on co-conspirators in any criminal matter. It could be a murder, it could be whatever sort of criminal conspiracy. You can have people who will say, well, yes, I am willing to testify for you to get a guilty plea against, because I'm a lower level wrong. That's how it would work. And I'd say it was them, and I can implicate them. But the defense will raise those issues of character. Can this person be believed?
Right, but talking before you even reach out the gate then, before you even walk out and say that we're going to prosecute this, that you sit down, you hear the story, so whistleblower legislation. I come to you with a thing, but my story, I just want to be famous. Before I even reach out the office to say I went and file this thing to let's prosecute, that we listen to the story, we sit down together, we huddle all together in the room, and we say, yeah, this thing, we look at all the cross, the dots, the I's, and then say, walk up, we're going and go to court with this. And, so from Paul Richard, what he was saying, that this person is a dubious character, but the story that they tell, we could see that we have these avenues, and they said, okay, let's do it. And they went out and...
But you see, sometimes persons who are seeking the testimony of that individual have the particular agenda.
Yeah.
And whether the person is of questionable character and credibility, it serves a particular purpose. They serve a purpose because they carry the narrative you want carried, and you need a witness. So it's up to, as Richard said, the defense to cross-examine and bore holes in their credibility and the reliability of the statements, the witness statements. But that doesn't mean the person who has the agenda don't pursue them. But my issue with Vincent Nelson at the start is that if he's the only witness and the main witness, well, not probably the only main witness, you have a problem.
Yeah.
If he, from the time the charges were laid, I said, that is the witness?
Yeah.
He?
Right.
I said, okay, we'll see how that goes. And I told people that this case is going to fall apart on the stand or before. And I said so to people. And it just come to pass.
And clearly, Victor Nelson.
Are you still seeking the interest, sir?
Right. Because Wendell, I've listened to some counselors, and they have told me that they said they have had to do vexatious cases, knowing that they might lose, just to get certain people and things on the ball to remove people, and they know it's difficult. They know that they may have more thing, but they just had to do it just to prove a point. And
we have some other calls, so let's.
Yeah, so I don't know.
All right, we're going to go to other calls now.
Yeah, Dean.
Good morning, thanks for holding.
Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
I think we have reached, I have consoled myself that we live in a nasty society, that is Trinidad and Tobago, where the poor are the only ones who face the courts and get a negative outcome. Some may not agree with me. The narrative is being spun in a way that we're no longer looking at the allegations and the charges that were formed against the two individuals, but more so the involvement of the former Attorney General in the whole process. It sickens me as many of the things that happen in Trinidad and Tobago, the simple things that can't seem to be done, and to maintain my sanity, I think I have to take a back seat and not study these things. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't happen, well, whatever.
You just said that because you live here and you care about here, and that's why you're feeling the way you feel.
Yeah, say what you want about the United States of America. We see even where a former president, while in office and out of office, is being sought out in terms of justice. Justice doesn't happen here in Trinidad and Tobago, especially for the poor. So I have to see about my family and myself, and whatever happens, happens. I have the opportunity to return to the place of my birth, but I've decided to stay here and ride it out. But you have to do something. You have to not study these people to maintain your level of sanity.
You're right.
But you said something earlier that people are focused on the former AG and the primary witness, and not the allegations against or the charges against the two individuals. That's a double-sided sword, because on one hand, focus must also be placed on the allegations, as serious as they are, but also the process needs to remain with integrity. Otherwise, the whole system falls apart. And if this system is corrupted, even if the persons are guilty, it messes up the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's not, and that's the issue here.
Yeah. And clearly, Vincent Nelson was able to so sell his case and convince people that, hey, I could do this. I have the information. I could bring these guys to justice. Clearly, he was able to convince.
Wendell, Vincent Nelson, Jody O'Lingdon, look at Trinidad and Tobago and say, you know what? I catch them already. Let me catch them again.
Well, yeah.
You know that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't help but agree with that now. So he laughing, he guffawing and having tea and crumpets somewhere.
And saying, look at them. Ha!
When are you breaking up badly?
Am I?
Good morning, welcome.
Good morning to you all. Yesterday, my mind went back to 2016, 14, with that Dolce case. I just trying to remember and how Ramesh Lawrence Maharaj pulled it off, got 9 men hanged, and was it Levi Morris or John? I just can't remember if it's Levi Morris or John. What is that? Morris?
One more of them is Clarence? Was that some point?
Yes, the guy who turned state witness and brought
Levi Morris. There's Levi Morris.
Right. Yeah. Thank you, Wendell. Ramesh Lawrence Maharaj, he worked it. Levi Morris turned state witness. And, we all know, the Americans, justice, they make deals, the DA make deals, the DA, district attorney make deals to bring a prosecution. And Ramesh Lawrence Maharaj, he did it. Levi Morris turned state witness, and he pulled off that case, got conviction, got men to be hanged, and Levi Morris was the main man. He was the main state witness. It didn't have no man testifying again because Ramesh Lawrence Murad made sure whatever deal he made with Levi Morris, it's not coming true until you give your testimony. And that, I mean, when I see this thing start to unfold, and Nelson talking about this and he ain't doing that, I say, what is this? Well, you know what the conclusion I have come to based on what went on with that case with Nelson? The former Attorney General Ram Logan has another case coming up, a witness tampering case. And the main witness in that case is Gary Griffith, the former commissioner. I wait to see if history will repeat itself.
You're right.
This is my take. Boy, this thing going through my mind. Yes, we talking, some friends, we saying, but wait, this man has another case coming up. And it has a main witness called Gary Griffith. I wait to see if history will repeat itself. I hope not, but we can only wait and see. Because that one is a more serious one than this. And
thank you. Good morning.
Hello. Morning.
Morning.
I listening to this whole conspiracy. Because there's a conspiracy going on there. And you know, this man who was a state witness, he's not an ordinary man. You know. Remember, he's a Queen's Counsel. So that man knows the intricacies of the law.
Clearly.
That man know the law. That man know how to wheel and deal and wine and dine. And the other parties in charge now, the other parties who the legislation, the alleged, they know how to wine, deal and wine do. So one big dance going on right now, and it's about money and power. You know what they do? Somebody could have called the state witness and tell him to appear here. Don't come here for big money too. So we have the end of this together.
Mr. Patrick, anything is possible, Vincent Nelson.
Sure, right.
Anything is possible, man.
Anything is possible. Anything is possible with all the players involved.
Well, that's what I said. Because you tell the court, I could have already tell the court, he don't want to stay here because he's afraid to kill him. You say, man?
Yes.
Yes.
And he will come because he has some prostate problem and this and that, right? How we ain't there yet? And now when case time to come and bring the man say he ain't coming, only read between the lines, money talk. The poor man don't have that kind of money outside there to get justice. So at the end of the day, everybody whining and dining, everybody playing the role, yes? I got.
Vincent Nelson clearly knew what he was doing, make sure he bargained and got what he wanted, and get it up front. If I have to read the newspapers today, that he got it up front. He got fees paid for himself, a fine paid, indemnity. He got it all up front. And here we are with two attorneys, one former AG and a former senator,
Good morning.
smiling all the way to the bank again.
Good morning.
And a former AG going on an attempt to explain away this thing at 11 o'clock this morning.
Good morning.
Hi, gentlemen. Good morning.
Morning.
You know, this situation reminds me of the Tiaco Airport Authority case where the guy Hillman said yes. He together with the two persons in Trinidad and Tobago did do this thing. Yes, we did it. And now the same situation arises here with Vincent Nelson and people just looking at it and dismissing it, saying, well, they end up with egg on their face and the thing, and they spend too much money and thing. So in other words then, the man said that these people were guilty. They were guilty, and people just overlooking that just to say, well, all right, they didn't know what they were doing and the government end up with egg on their face. And I find that so disgusting.
Yes, but the person who's saying that has a credibility issue.
Well,
and that's what the system is called credible information.
Nothing could be done then.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying you are saying that this person said they did X and Y and he was complicit with them, or he engaged with them to break the law. But this person who is saying so has a credibility issue. It's like if somebody say you do something, but the whole past checkered, and they've lied before or they've made up stuff before. Should they convict you? And I'm not saying whether you're innocent or guilty, I'm saying that person is an incredulous witness. I'm not saying whether they're innocent or guilty.
But Paul, Miss Diego Martin gave that example because the then state witness that allowed men to be hanged also had a credibility issue. But guess what? The deal wasn't brokered before. The deal was brokered before, but nothing was given to that person before until after. That is the problem with this one.
Also, yesterday I was looking at the winding up of the Standing Finance Committee, and they were dealing with the Parliament, and there was a line item coming up with gratuity. And I listened and I had to chuckle to myself. I heard the leader of the opposition begging that she did not receive her gratuity. And she wanted to know, well, why. And she was told that it could be a case of interpretation and things, because it had nothing to do with the Ministry of Finance, according to Mr. Imbuy. And she's saying, well, I don't know, but I have information otherwise. And she is making a case. She wants her gratuity. And you know what struck me as, where these same people, because Shamfa Kojo said something that pissed off a lot of people, they put all the information on the public domain, even in collaboration with the Express. Why didn't they put every one of the 41 parliamentarians' situation on the Express too? Why didn't they put the union leaders' situation on the Express too? Why single out one? Why didn't they level the playing field? That is my argument.
Yeah. The UNC at the end of the day, the People's Partnership, UNC, whatever incarnation, really has no credibility at the end of the day. At least some of them. Let me qualify that. Because I always say anybody who served in that last government should hush. Let me hear Rushton Parry and the others who are new. Let me listen to them. Anita Haynes on it. Let me listen to them. Anybody else who served in that last government should hush. And I probably will end up saying it about this PNM government too, when and if they think. But if we have to go by the NACTA poll that's in today's papers, the PNM is going to win the next election. But let's hope that they would have cleaned house enough so that we don't have to deal with some of these people who are in government right now. You understand? Continue with people like Marvin Gonzalez and them who really showing a hard-working mentality. Some of these other people just need to just forget about politics and go far, far, far away from it. Far. You have any more calls, Paul?
Hello?
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. On the matter being discussed, I want to agree with the decision of the DPP, because just listening listening to the information, I think the Attorney General made an error. The Attorney General would be giving a press conference at 11, I think, this morning, and it would be interesting to see how we will try to swing this. Now, I'm not a lawyer, so I can't say that he has breached the Constitution by crossing the barrier between the DPP and the AG, which at one time, I remember Carl Hudson Phillip as the AG prosecuting, and that was changed in England and subsequently in Trinidad and Tobago. Now, the thing is this, he appears to have jumped the gun a bit from my perspective, because the same way he informed the DPP that he had entered into this indemnity agreement with the state witness, I think it would have been more appropriate for him to inquire of the DPP whether that was appropriate, because the DPP probably would have warned him to stay away from that aspect. You know. Now, the other thing I want to comment on, I hear people saying that the poor people don't have access to justice. That, to my mind, is not true, because I don't see any definitive way in which you could separate citizens from the judicial process by saying that designating people as poor. The only thing you could do is offer legal support, legal aid. But to me, it's a platitude to mention that, because if you look at cases across the world, you will see clearly who have more corn could feel more foul. I would use the example of the case against Mr. Trump, in which Mr. Cohen had functioned as a state witness. With all the money involved and things, it's always difficult to secure prosecution in these matters, because these gentlemen are in a position to manipulate the law more than the poor. But that does not mean that could be changed to accommodate the poor. Certain things are natural within our society. They have different levels of access, different levels of resources, and there's nothing we can do to change that. But overall, I am pointing our finger at the AG, even though he's somebody who I think has done a fair amount of good. But in this matter, I think he might have overreached his authority.
All right. And I think you meant the former AG there, right?
Good morning.
But the current AG is coming under attack, but I think you meant the former AG.
So,
good morning.
Good morning. What I would, what is interesting to me in this is that what I would look out for with the AG's press conference today is the rule of the this plea bargaining, right? So we have a newly, well, at the time when this case would have gone to, when Vincent Nelson QC would have, well, KC now I suppose, would have gone to the magistrate's court, you know, that plea bargaining, that agreement that he had, which is what people are, you know, up in arms about now, that was done under the Criminal Procedure Plea Bargaining Act, more or less. So it have a bill, it's not an act, but it's a bill, yeah. So that would have, there was a legal process, a new law at the time, that guided how do you go about creating these sort of arrangements. And I think this is probably the first, this particular case was the first sort of, I wouldn't say implementation, but the first sort of high-profile use of that particular arrangement to secure, you know, the agreement of a witness in another case. So this plea bargaining thing it seems to me to be, you know, there's a bill which there's an act rather which governs how that is done. The thing that I would be interested in finding out from the Attorney General, if anybody's going to be there and have access to asking questions, is, you know, what was the role of the DPP in that whole arrangement? Because it seems like, you know, when you make these plea bargaining arrangements, which has to go before a High Court judge to finalize, and then it's the agreement that is reached is then you know, has a non-disclosure sort of provision on top of it, so nobody discusses it until everything that is agreed upon is sort of acted out, more or less. But you know, if this agreement between Vincent Nelson and the government, what was the role of the DPP? Because the DPP is the one that is supposed to be at the forefront of this making of and stuff like that. So that was one question. That's what I'd be interested in. And the other thing is, you know, it could very well be that this is sort of like a, you know, we have a problem. Well, if this is the first time that this provision or this new way of getting plea bargaining, you know, arrangements, this is the first test of the system, and then we have this problem where, you know, there's a breakdown in, well, we say we were going to do this, and you know, it seems like that is probably what was taking place there, that in their bid to kind of use this new law, right, to kind of go after these kind of high profile and very technical cases, whatever it is, that there was like a sort of a breakdown in communication at some point, essentially. And this is what is kind of unfolding. So pay attention, I would say, to this plea bargaining arrangement, because that was the law. It is the law at the time, and you can go ahead and make these kind of it's not that the Attorney General, just decided to just, willy-nilly, create this sort of a bargaining arrangement, and, people saying it's misbehavior in public office. There's a law that allows for this, right? And there are certain things that you have to do. It has to be between the prosecutor and the attorney for the accused, etc. And then there, you can't have a malicious agreement. That is like, you withhold information from the person you're trying to make a deal with, and then, it comes out, if it comes out later on that somebody was lying, say, I say, I have evidence on X, but I don't, right? Then you can go back and be prosecuted. The deal can be sort of annulled. So I would just say, I'm not a lawyer, but pay attention to that Criminal Procedure Plea Discussion and Plea Agreement Bill Act, I should say, 2017, because I think that is what's going to feature heavily in what Awari has to say.
All right. All right, thank you. We are 1 minute away from 8 o'clock.
And here we are briefing with the news. Trying to do Steve kind of humor.
Okay. Gregory's there already?
Gregory's here already, yes. He is.
Gregory, take it away.
All right.
This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.